No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Okay, people, so I'm not even gonna lie. I had to talk about this. I had to do it. We might have something here. We might got a series that is going to be big, or at the very least, people are going to really rock with it. From the former assistant to Tatsuki Fujimoto's Chainsaw Man, we now have, y'all ready for this? It's called Dandadan by Yukinobu Tatsu. And yes, Dandadan. I know it's a little bit of a tongue twister, like, or Dandadan. One word, Dandadan. I mean, if you could pronounce the series like, I don't know, Jujutsu Kaisen or some shit, I think Dandadan will be alright. No shade to Jujutsu Kaisen, by the way. Just had to throw that in there. But it's a series that premiered in Shonen Jump Plus April 6, 2021. And as of the recording of this video, there's currently 4 chapters out, so it's not, you know, deep right now. There's still plenty of time to be caught up in all of that jazz. And yes, people, it being in Shonen Jump Plus really shows, really shines through, because fam, as I was reading this, I was like, what the hell am I reading? What the hell is going on here? What is this series? Because to give you a brief idea of the story, it's basically about this girl. It starts off anyway, this girl, Ayase, her and her boyfriend just recently broke up, so she's, you know, I don't want to say on the rebound, but, you know, just free to do whatever she wants. She goes to school. She runs into this nerd that nobody's ever paid him any attention, while she, you know, she's a regular girl, got friends, all that jazz. He's kind of like the stereotypical, you know, cliche nerd, glasses, nobody rocks with him, nobody talks to him, all that jazz. So her showing him any sort of attention is like a pretty big deal. And the interesting thing about it is, as they start having like conversations and things like that, is the fact that he believes in UFOs and aliens. Like, he's really deep into it. He even brings out a brochure. You would think he's like a QAnon member or some shit like that with conspiracy theories, because he's like, yo, did you know that Obama's been to Mars and all that shit? And I'm just kind of like, okay, then where are we going with this? Well, on the other side of things, Ayase, she is pretty much into ghosts. Like, she believes very heavily in ghosts. In fact, her grandmother is a psychic medium, if I'm not mistaken. She grew her up into this whole thing of like, you know, you gotta curse the spirits away and things like that. So she's really deep into this whole ghost thing, even though there's a lot of like nuance to it as well, because when she was younger, she was made fun of for being into ghosts, and because of the practices her grandmother had instilled in her. So it's kind of like an interesting dynamic within her as well. And the crazy thing of it all is each one of them both look at the other's beliefs as like, oh, you're silly for believing in that. Like, he's like, oh, yo, I love my UFOs and aliens, but ghosts? Like, really? Ghosts? Like, you 10 years old? Like, what's going on here? And vice versa, she's like, oh, this nerd with these aliens, like, you gotta stop this shit, fam. Like, grow up. Which leads them to basically daring each other, like, yo, or making a bet, shall I say, that, hey, if you go to this place and you don't get possessed, I'll be your errand boy, and vice versa, I'll be your errand girl. So essentially, she goes to this hospital that is supposedly infested with aliens, and alien presence is there and things like that. And he goes to this bridge, under this bridge, this tunnel, where supposedly there's supposed to be ghosts there. And I'm urging you, because I'm just being real with you, I really rock with this story so far. What we got, I'm telling you, like, you should go read it. Go read it right now. Save me some time. You come back, go read it. Go read a chapter 2. Come back over here, and then we could keep on conversing, because yeah, I'm about to give you the nitty gritty of chapter 1 that blew my mind, and I was like, I'm gonna keep reading. And by the way, the name of the character, the, you know, nerdy guy, his name is Ken Takakura. While Ken is in the tunnel, he basically is haunted by this spirit of like a ghost of like an old lady that starts haunting him and going after him, and essentially possesses him and takes away his, we're gonna call it pickle. We don't want the demonetization ghost to haunt us, so we're gonna call it his pickle. She basically takes away his pickle, and she's like, yeah, ain't nobody getting this shit back. It's mine now, which is really freaking bizarre. Basically being possessed by the spirit of an old lady that wants your wiener. Like, what? And on the flip side of things, as she's at this hospital, she gets abducted by aliens, and they start to basically try and probe her, and because they want to reproduce, because they're basically like a bunch of alien clones, and the only way they can make a difference within their species is to basically reproduce with a woman. So they're about to have their way with her and do some really wild shit. And it's just kind of like, so in chapter 1, let me get this straight. And as I'm explaining this to you, I'm a little bit still bugged out, like, what the hell? Like, yo, this author, he has one hell of an imagination, to say the least. So he gets abducted, or he gets possessed by the spirit of some old lady that wants his wing. She's getting abducted and probed by aliens that want to reproduce with her. What is going on here? However, However, as they're getting ready to essentially violate her, her phone rings and it's essentially him, Ken Takakura, but as he's possessed by this old lady and he goes through the freaking phone over there and just starts messing shit up, attacking the aliens, because now he's basically halfway, or at this point I believe fully possessed by the spirit of the old lady. And as they probed her, Ayase, she starts unlocking these psychic powers that she's always had, because again, remember, she grew up with her grandmother that was like, into this whole psychic phenomenon and shit. So then she starts using her powers to like calm him down. Like, it's really freaking wacky, very insane, and me talking about it and giving you an idea of it is not doing it justice, because it's just wow. And following that, because that's just all in chapter 1 alone, following that, essentially she stays with some type of psychic powers that essentially she can, as long as she's looking at him and holding her hands up at him like this, can control the medium, the power that is possessing his body, because the old lady, the spirit of the old lady stays there, and also he is staying weenieless. He has no pickle because the old lady took it, which I don't know if there's like some sort of metaphor I'm supposed to dig deep in there of maybe like a cougar, like I don't know, and I don't want to know right now because it's a little bit mind-blowing to think about. I mean, like, this shit gets so deep that he can't even take a dump. She has to watch him taking a dump. If not, the possession of the spirit will come out of him. And then shortly after, I want to say it's like into chapter 3 if I'm not mistaken, we get introduced to Ayase's grandmother, and fam, I'm not gonna get too much into spoilers, but she is a badass, very interesting as well, that she's kind of like on TV and people think she's a quack because people be lying when she's doing like her psychic, you're 27, you have 4 kids, and they're like, no, there's no way, only to find out, oh no, she's legit, she actually, like, she knows what she's doing. And essentially the story, as of where we're at right now, again, only 4 chapters in, is basically them trying to figure out a way to basically exercise the possession of that old lady from Ken's body and move forward. And honestly, so far this shit seems wild. It is very, you could tell that this dude rubbed elbows with Tatsuki Fujimoto very heavily, because it gives me that vibe of like the craziness that you would get from a series like Chainsaw Man. In fact, I want to say probably this guy, this assistant, was like maybe a background creator as well on Chainsaw Man, because there were certain backgrounds like when Ayase was at the hospital that looked straight out of Chainsaw Man, like Denji's room in his mind. So I was kind of like, yo, okay. And it being in Jump Plus is such a benefit because it's very wild and graphic. Like I said, one of the big things is the fact that essentially this nerd wants to get his back. And honestly, this series, I really think it's going to go somewhere. I really think that this is going to make a splash, because 4 chapters in, it's very unconventional. Like, don't come into this expecting like, oh, a main character that wants to become the Hokage, Pirate King, or anything like that. Like, no. Like, at best, I would say maybe some of the shonen-esque elements of Ken, like, him being kind of wimpy, but ultimately he has this power that's taking over. So you got like maybe small elements of shonen in there, but it's doing it in a very unorthodox method. And yeah, you have 2 main characters, Ayase and Ken, and also Ayase, you could tell that they're flirting already with a little bit of a romance, because this guy Kawinka Dinkily has the same name as the idol that she really is madly in love with. So there's some aspects in there I could tell that they probably will get together at some given point, even though right now he's just like a nerdy guy and she's just going over a breakup. So who knows, maybe it could just be like, hey, this is my rebound fling with a spirit of an old lady that has his wang. But I'm curious what you guys think. If you have read this series Dandadan thus far, what do you think about it? How do you feel about it? Where do you think it's going to go? What do you think about the possessions, the aliens, the spirits? Like, so far since chapter 1, it's more so focused in on the ghost aspect, because again, remember, it's ghosts and aliens. Like, I'm imagining as we're moving forward, we'll get more about these aliens that came to abduct her and her psychic powers and her psychic awakenings. But where do you think this is all going to go? And if you haven't read this and you just watched this video, are you going to check it out? Did I sell you on Dandadan? Again, I think this is going to be something. It's just going into like a darker mold, and in terms of like success, basically as successful as Chainsaw Man gets is probably how far or even beyond Dandadan can, because it's dark, it's gritty, but also it's funny and just, it's wild. It's something else. Like, a part of me feels like maybe I should tell you not to check it out, because again, like, the old lady took his dick and Ayase has to watch him take a shit. So yeah. And your overall thoughts and expectations, again, one more time, Dandadan. That's all I have for this one though. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga life. Bye. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And yeah, go read Dandadan. It's nuts. She took his
You are